China Project, 5th of July 2023. Zambia's economic and racial enslavement by China has a long history. China has heavily burdened Zambia's growth by trapping it in a high-interest debt situation. The difficult procedure was described as a zigzag, sideways, forwards, backwards, down, and up, but we kept our eyes on the ball by the president of Zambia, Haikande Hichilema. After considerable dodging and weaving, Zambia this week became the first developing nation to renegotiate its debt repayments under the G20 cooperation framework. It had been in negotiations soon after going into debt in 2020, with the pandemic being the final straw for its already weakening economy. It agreed to reduce the interest rates on the $6.3 billion loans owed to Chinese and Western creditors to just 1%, saving the nation $5.8 billion over the following 8 years. For Zambia, a least developed country where the poorest people survive on $2 per day, it's a big problem. Most of Zambia's debtors were Chinese banks, who racked up 65% of the debts in several construction projects. The two nations have a lengthy history together. The Tazara Railway, one of China's first significant projects in Africa, served as a turning point in their ties and helped to establish one of China's founding myths about its presence there. In the 1960s, white-dominated colonies bordered Zambia, and it was frantic to avoid contact with them. However, they had to figure out how to get their copper ore, essential for the G.D.P. nation's GDP, to the sea for trading. Despite being denied funds and assistance from Europe for the project, then-President Kenneth Kaunda received a gift from Mao Zedong for constructing the Tazara Railway, which connected Zambia and Tanzania to Dar es Salaam on the Indian Ocean. China contributed tens of thousands of laborers and an 494 million Chinese yuan interest-free loan in 1967. In Marxist circles, Kaunda is admired for repeating the PRC's stated purpose of overthrowing imperialist power structures and empowering people to stand on their own 2 feet. Kaunda made every effort to free the nations of southern Africa from European colonists. In China's relations with Zambia, reverent allusions to this incident that were cultivated by the leaders of the older generation are frequently made. In 2007, Hichilema made a special trip to see Kaunda, who was by that point well into his retirement, 2 days after traveling to Sudan to address the Darfur problem. In contrast to Tanzania, which is also a member of the Tazara Railway, XJNPNG has frequently stated the great importance and special friendly feelings China attaches to its relations with Zambia, describing their cooperation as a model of solidarity and cooperation between China and Africa. The financial stake in this cooperation is tiny. Only $6 billion in trade will be conducted between countries in 2022. Copper is China's biggest export to the country, but even if it reaches record levels in 2022, it will still be dwarfed by copper imports from Chile, for example. Nevertheless, the two have always had cordial ties. In 2003, China established a special economic zone in Zambia, where Chinese banks and companies today sponsor more than 600 businesses. Zambia has gotten various loans from China since 2011 for roads, army housing, and broadcasting systems. Some of them seem questionable. Take the T3 toll road, which connects Tanzania, the border with the DRC, and Zambia's copper region. The government contracted with China Jiangxi Corporation to repair the road in 2017. However, the project's conditions and the yearly high $1.2 billion cost led to residents accusing the government of corruption, and it was ultimately abandoned in 2022. A more affordable agreement was made with a different Chinese investor, who plans to pay back the debt with toll fees. According to Nazmat Kabatamosi of Foreign Policy, with economic decision-making centralized in the presidency, the absence of rigorous management systems enforced and the lack of publicly available information on the loans from Beijing allowed some Zambian officials to inflate project costs and receive kickbacks. On the global stage, Zambia has supported contentious Chinese measures, such as the Hong Kong National Security Law. Hichilema argued that China was not to blame even during the ongoing debt restructuring, where the U.S. accused China of slowing down the procedure. Zambia still needs China to have a significant influence in the area. The government of Hichilema wants to increase copper production. For it has to upgrade its electrical system and highways, which explains the ongoing interest in the T3 project. The Coffee Gorge Lower Power Station, a major hydroelectric dam producing 27% of Zambia's electricity, is contentious. Despite being a joint venture between China and Zambia, China Exim Bank and ICBC have covered 85% of expenses. When Zambia started making payments late on its foreign debt in 2020, the project halted. The Trump administration asserted that the dam might be used as security for unpaid Chinese obligations, although Zambia rejects this. Bloomberg claims that the Chinese side had asked for the dam to be ring-fenced during the restructuring talks. Many Zambian projects are currently having difficulties. Tesla is looking for new Chinese investors due to a continual decline in freight. China's diplomats and commercial representatives may have disagreed during the debt negotiations with Zambia. To find a solution to the debt issue, Zambia's ambassador to China, Dushohu, has reportedly been visiting several institutions that hold Zambian debt, according to a report from the China-Africa Research Initiative, CARI. Du told them, for the banks, profit may be crucial in resolving the debt issue. However, the national interest is of more importance to diplomats. Even if the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is powerless to influence debt negotiations, Kerry's analysis points out that they are crucial for bringing powerful Chinese leaders to the table. Politicians in China were on Zambia's side because of their special relationship, or at least they wanted to seem to be. Perhaps a diplomatic relationship Xi supported as an example of China and Africa working together was too important to fail.